The book of life is all around us. The consciousness of the cosmos whispers to us in the wind and speaks to us in the patterns on the earth and in the movement of the stars and planets. As we listen to the messages of the earth and sky and the voice of spirit within our hearts, we are guided in how to live and grow in love and wisdom. As above, so below. As it is outside of us, so it is within us. As it is within us, so it is outside of us. Greetings, everyone. In this video, I would like to talk in more practical terms about what it means to be moving into the Aquarian paradigms and how we can begin to manifest that, begin to live from these new paradigms. I think this is particularly important as we're moving into 2024, and Pluto will be moving back into Aquarius January 20th or 21st, depending on where you are on the globe, and will be there through September 1st. Then it will be back in Capricorn for a few months and then move fully into the sign of Aquarius at the end of November 2024. So this year is a time of intensified, accelerated movement into beginning to dream those Aquarian paradigms into being, to begin to co-create them together. So I want to talk about some of the ways that we can be consciously working with these new paradigms to be supporting our own movement into living them out, and how we can be supporting each other in co-creating this new reality, this new world together. Remember that the meaning of the Aquarian Age is about that remembrance that everything is energy, everything is interconnected, and everything is conscious. It's also about our movement out of hierarchical dynamics into collaboration and co-creation. It's about coming back into balance and living from a place of justice, freedom, openness to diversity, creativity, being in collaboration with each other, in community with each other, rather than in disconnection or hierarchical dynamics with each other. As you've heard me say in previous videos, my sense of the core themes of the Aquarian Age are the sovereignty of the self, in the sanctity of community, and in unity with cosmic consciousness. You've also heard me talk about the theme of the Aquarian Age of being in right relationship. And let's talk more about what that actually means, how we actually at a practical level work with that, live that in our lives. Being in right relationship is a shift from the paradigm that we've been in across these past few thousand years that has been about disconnection. It has been about an over-idealization of individualism. It has been this hierarchical paradigm where we get caught in these power over dynamics and this experience of seeing reality as physical, materialistic, only at that sensory level of reality. So then everything around us becomes treated as objects to be exploited, to be used for our own needs. We're no longer in connection with each other. We're often treating each other as objects or obstacles in our effort to seek what we want or need. We treat the earth as an object and our natural resources as something we can exploit for our own ends. It's a lack of respect, a lack of living in harmony and mutuality, and a lack of being in right relationship. So coming back into right relationship is about coming back into connection, coming back into mutuality and respect, and that realization that everything, every person, everything around us carries a consciousness. And then it becomes important how we are in that relationship with ourselves, each other, and all that is. But let's break this down a little bit more specifically. I think living in right relationship begins with being in right relationship with ourselves. That needs to be the starting point. Being in right relationship means developing a witness self, an observer part of ourselves, so that we can begin to attune to and see how it is that we interact with ourselves. How is it that we're treating ourselves? Being in the witness self helps us look at our patterns, our ways of thinking, our ways of reacting, our ways of engaging with our own individual self. And part of coming back into right relationship with ourselves is to hold ourselves with more compassion. Do you find yourself holding yourself with compassion or with judgment? Do you find yourself being highly critical of yourself? Many of us have an inner critic, and I encourage you, in terms of sensing more into your own inner critic, look at Saturn and where it is in your birth chart. Look at Virgo and where that sign is. What house is it in? What planets are in Virgo in your birth chart? Saturn and the sign of Virgo tend to be where we can get caught in that shadow aspect of those energies and get caught in our own inner critic. And as Clarissa Pinkola Estes has talked about in her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, we can be our own worst inner predators when we let that inner critic run rampant. And it becomes a way in which we're constantly in judgment of ourselves and critiquing ourselves, putting ourselves down. And that affects then how we feel within ourselves and how we interact with other people. And remember, as I've talked about in other videos, we need to convert the way Saturn in our chart can often be the inner critic. And I think that shadow aspect of Saturn comes when we encounter things that we fear, and we develop this inner critic as a protector part to try to keep those things that frighten us at a distance. But we end up then constricting, contracting, or being in that state of Saturn as the inner critic. When we can work with the deeper meaning of Saturn, Saturn becomes the inner shaman who guides us in how to bridge our soul self with this human experience. So we need to start with bringing compassion back to ourselves. And I think one way to do that is to take some time each day to meditate and come into your heart center. Connect with your heart chakra. When we get out of our minds and into our hearts, we get out of that dynamic with the inner critic. We get out of that way in which the ego is in control. We come back into connection with our hearts, with our own compassion for ourselves and our connection to our soul selves. And to come back into that connection with your heart, I encourage you to explore the Heart Math Institute exercises, and I've put a link to that website below. It gives some very simple, practical exercises for how we can find that place of being centered, that place of inner stillness within ourselves as we connect with our heart chakras. And one simple way to do that I practice is to do a breathing exercise where you breathe in to the count of 6, the energy of love. Hold that for the count of 2, of being in right relationship, and release your breath to the count of 8, the number of coming back into balance and harmony. Try doing that simple practice in your meditation or in moments when you're starting to feel stressed or overwhelmed or disconnected from yourself. Breathe in that energy of love and compassion. Hold it in your heart for the count of 2. Breathe out for the count of 8 to bring yourself back into balance. You can also, and this is a Heart Math Institute exercise, visualize breathing in and out through your heart, which allows you to focus on your heart and be connecting more and more with that heart center. Another practice that's very helpful in strengthening your connecting with your heart center is to focus on an image or a memory or a person that brings you joy. Hold that image in your heart. And again, breathe in and out through your heart, just feeling that joy, that love, that connection with that person, that animal, that experience that brings your heart joy. You can also do a gratitude practice where you focus on what fills you with gratitude. And those energies of joy or gratitude elevate our consciousness and support us in living more fully from the heart. And then it supports you in being in more compassion with yourself and feeling more at peace, even in the midst of the storminess of the times that we're in. So I think having some daily practice where you come back into your heart is enormously helpful, not only in how you're in right relationship with yourself, but as a way to come back into inner stillness, come back into a sense of peace, come back into that connection with the center of the cosmos, with that way of remembering we're a part of the oneness of all that is. In terms of connecting with your heart, also look at where Leo is in your chart and where 27 degrees of Sagittarius is. Where are you connecting with the galactic center? Leo helps us connect with the sun, the center of our solar system and our hearts, and that degree that is our alignment with the galactic center helps us remember our heart center is in connection with the center of the galaxy and the center of the earth. And as we come back into our hearts, we feel that way in which we're held and we're in connection with all that is. And as we strengthen our connection with our heart chakra helps organize our energy body to bring us fully back into balance. And it supports us again in living more fully from our soul selves and not from our ego. It's also helpful as you connect with your heart chakra to realize it supports you in connecting more with your soul self. When we remember that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, we reconnect with that awareness that we are a part of infinity. And it can really support you in releasing the fear, the constriction, the anxiety that can come from feeling that our reality is this physical reality and this human experience and this ego's awareness of what's going on and how to be in control. In the midst of the incredible time of transformation and transition that we're in, if we're living from that level of consciousness and reality, and that is the consensual level of consciousness, that this is a materialistic reality, that we live in a random universe, that things just happen to us, and we have to strive to be in control and do what we can, survival of the fittest, to take care of ourselves and get our needs met. That is going to foster more and more fear, and then it leads us into negative patterns, either of giving our power away or moving into over control, acting out in reactive, destructive ways in our interactions with others. So as we come back into the heart center, it supports us in remembering that we are soul selves having a human experience, and that everything that is happening around us supports us in our own process of learning and growth. And it supports us in also trusting being in the mystery in this time, being in this time of transmutation where we are leaving one form and way of being human to move into being energy beings, homoluminous ones. This is a huge time of transmutation and metamorphosis that we're in. And it means moving through this time that feels more and more fluid and uncertain and mysterious. And when we connect to our hearts and our soul selves, it helps us to trust in that process, to know that we are held by energies larger than ourselves. And when we connect with our hearts, we also remember our connections with each other who are in support of us. We remember our connections with our spirit guides and helpers. As we come back into right relationship with ourselves, it also supports us in, again, being in that witness self, so we can see more clearly what are the patterns that are out of balance in our lives. What are the ways that we may be hurtful to ourselves or hurtful to others? What are the limiting beliefs that we're clinging to that we need to release in order to be more in right alignment and right relationship with ourselves? It also supports us in being more clear about how we're in our own healing journeys. As I said in my recent video, the sun and the solar energies that we're experiencing and the cosmic energies are activating our increasing awareness of whatever blocks we carry in our energy field, whatever traumas are unresolved for us. So honor that, as painful as that can be at times, to be hitting up against those wounds or aspects of ourselves that need healing, or the pain from the past. It's actually getting activated to support us in healing that, clearing that, to come more into our wholeness, to come more into our authentic selves. So as those wounds get activated, I encourage you, be in dialogue with those parts of yourself. Allow yourself to see and hear what's coming up, not to get mired in it or identified with that pain or caught in the memories of the past, but how to be able to see and hold with compassion what's coming up. What are those parts of you that are needing to feel held and seen and heard in order to heal, in order to release and reintegrate as part of who you are? The book that I co-authored with Christina Lee, From Trauma to Freedom, gives some very practical steps in terms of how you can work with that process of healing for yourself. And I'll include that link below as well. As you're in your own healing process, I encourage you, in terms of getting more insight about that, look at where the sign of Scorpio is in your chart. Look at what's in the 8th house in your chart. It will give you some guidance as to what may be held deep below the surface of your awareness that you're needing to get in touch with in order to heal. Also look at where Chiron is in your birth chart and where Uranus is. Chiron indicates what are some of those core wounds that we carry from this lifetime and past lives. And Uranus in particular can be showing us where we carry past life trauma. So I encourage you to look at where they fall in your chart by sign and by house, and then look at where Chiron is as it's transiting and supporting you in being in your own healing experience. And remember that the earth and sun and these cosmic energies are beaming their energies to us to support us in being in this healing process. But another aspect of being in right relationship with ourselves is being in right relationship with our bodies. I think it's very important in this time where our bodies are also in their own transformational process as we're experiencing these cosmic energies that are activating our DNA, that are shifting our physical reality. We are transmuting into beings of light, homo luminous ones. That it's important to be in right relationship with our bodies, to treat our bodies as the conscious, wise beings that they are. And if you're experiencing some way that your body is out of balance or in pain, or you have symptoms that are getting activated, instead of trying to numb those, override those, be in denial of them, or control them, allow yourself to actually be in dialogue with your body. Our bodies carry their own consciousness and wisdom and are often the messengers to us of what is deeply buried within us that is needing to heal. Our bodies carry that message to try to support us in seeing how what's at the root of that imbalance and what may be going on emotionally that we're not attending to. So dialogue with your body, honor your body and its own wisdom. And if you're experiencing something out of balance, really attune to what your body is trying to tell you. As an example of that, when I was in my 40s, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a form of hypothyroidism that is an autoimmune issue. And, it initially activated a lot of anxiety for me. And then I let myself really tune in. What was this about? What was my body trying to tell me? And I began to explore what had been blocked in terms of my throat chakra and how the way in which this out of balance issue in my body was an expression of my own fear of speaking my truth, of claiming my voice, of being visible in the world with my teaching. And that it was activating some past life trauma, some trauma in this lifetime that ended up getting me caught in my own inner conflict about honoring my own voice and my own truth. As I worked with the root of that core issue that was manifesting in the Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, I was able to more gently and easily support my thyroid in coming back into balance. So our bodies want to give us that information to support us in our healing process. And as we listen to the message and honor what our body is trying to guide us to heal, then it supports us in more rapidly clearing that physical imbalance by addressing what's at the root of it. And it can support you in exploring what are those issues about in your body, not only by looking at your current transits, but look at where Taurus is in your chart. Where is the sign of Taurus? Look at what's in the second house and look at, in particular right now, the transit of Uranus in Taurus, which is guiding us to get more insight into what we may be experiencing in our bodies, what we may be experiencing physically. And if you don't have your birth chart, feel free to download one for free from astro.com, or I highly recommend the videos that Pam Gregory has on her website that you can download that guide you into how to see these placements in your chart and how to know how to work with them. And as you're working with the current transits, I encourage you to look particularly at where the outer transpersonal planets are in their transits in relationship with your birth chart right now. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Remember that Uranus is in Taurus. So see where you are being guided to connect more with your body and to connect more with nature, with the earth. And Uranus gives us flashes of insight, of clarity to support us in setting ourselves free from what may be pulling us out of balance or blocking us from being in our true selves. Look at where Neptune is in your chart. Neptune is in these final degrees of Pisces, supporting us in how we can hold more compassion for ourselves and hold more trust and faith in being in the mystery, in being in the currents of change that are supporting us in this time of transition and transformation. And where Pluto is in your chart, as it's in the final degrees of Capricorn, it's showing you where you need to deconstruct the patterns of the past to be moving in these new directions. And then as it moves into Aquarius, it's activating for you where in your own chart and what planets it may be an aspect to that are supporting you in moving into these new forms and paradigms of the Aquarian Age. And as you're working to be in right relationship with yourself, remember that's also in the Aquarian Age about being in community, being in connection, not operating as a solo operator in the world, but finding your soul tribe, finding your community and your connections. For some of us, that's an active, supportive community in our area. For some of us, it's finding those connections and community online. For others of us, it's actually finding our sense of community in the natural world by connecting with trees and plants and animals. For some of us, it's about connecting with the community of our spirit guides and helpers and plant allies and animal guides in the spirit realm. Honor wherever that supportive community is for you, but know that that's a part of what supports you in being in right relationship with yourself, feeling that interconnectedness with others around you, remembering the oneness of all that is. It's also, I think, very critical in this time to remember we are not moving through this time of transformation alone. We are helped. We are supported. Our spirit guides, our angels, our supporters from the other realms are with us all the time. And I do believe as we're moving into these higher states of consciousness, we can be more and more in experiential connection with them, in communication with them, to be supported by them. As an example of that, one of the ways that I heal the wounds from the past that come up for me, whether it's issues in this lifetime or I'm currently working with some past life trauma, I journey or in my meditation connect with my primary spirit guides. And I bring those wounded parts of myself to those spirit guides, knowing their love and support and capacity to see the wholeness of who I am can hold me and guide me in how to be in a healing process with those parts of myself. And it supports me in bringing more compassion to myself and coming more and more into my wholeness and releasing that pain from the past. As we come back into right relationship with ourselves, it supports us in being in right relationship with each other. It allows us to see each other with more compassion. But again, that has to start within, and then it can emanate out in how we can be more of a healing presence in our interactions with others, holding them with more respect, with more compassion, having more capacity to hear and see who they truly are, rather than coming out of our own reactivity or projections. It also guides us in moving beyond judgment and holding that everyone is in their own spiritual journey in their own way. And how do we hold that awareness that we're all here as spiritual beings having a human experience to support us in our own growth and healing process, however we're choosing to do that. As we move into that way of being in right relationship with each other, it supports us in moving beyond polarity and polarization to remember we're all interconnected. We're all a part of this oneness. And as we can remember that, then not only as we are healing and being in right relationship within ourselves and with each other, we can emanate that healing to all those we interact with, but we can also be emanating that energy in a way that supports the morphogenic field that helps shift and heal the collective consciousness. And being in right relationship with the others in your life, that means working the deeper issues in relationship with those that you're very close to. It means being more attentive to how you hear them, how you support them and are there for them. It means being in right balance. It doesn't mean overriding your own feelings and needs to be there for the other. It means holding that understanding of true mutuality, speaking your truth in love, and truly hearing the other so that there can be a way of deepening in your understanding and connection and love and care for each other. And being in right relationship also means holding that awareness in the mundane interactions in your daily life, whether it's someone who's interacting with you in an exchange at a store or on the street, or someone who's working on a project in your house or your apartment. It's about looking at how are you relating to them, honoring who they are in their uniqueness, being kind, being in connection with your own heart in how you're relating to them, to be seeing them through the eyes of respect and compassion and mutuality, rather than seeing them as separate from yourself or somehow a threat or a danger or an obstacle or an object. It's about being in that place of integrity, respect, and compassion. Being in right relationship as part of this Aquarian paradigm is also about being in right relationship with the earth. It is about realizing our earth is in her own ascension process. And as we're in relationship with her, she's going to support us in our own ascension process. But we need to remember the earth herself is conscious and is nurturing us, supporting us, trying to guide us in our own healing journeys and spiritual expansion. I think it is very important to have a daily practice where you connect with nature. If you're in an area where you can go walk in nature every day. And as you walk, hold with gratitude the trees, the plants, the birds, the animals, the elements that you encounter. Hold with gratitude your relationship with the earth and the ways that she nurtures you with her waters, with the food that she gives us. And remember that water, as Veda Austin describes so beautifully, holds that divine consciousness, is supporting us in remembering who we are and being nurtured and being in connection with these energies of the Aquarian age, which is that remembers that everything is a part of the oneness. So when you drink water, honor that water. Consciously take in that cosmic consciousness that's coming into you through the water. And remember that everything around us is water. Water is within us, it's around us, it's above us, it's below us. So as we reconnect with the earth and her elements and the water and the food and sustenance that the earth gives us, and come back into a relationship of gratitude and of honoring the earth and her consciousness, then we come back into right relationship. And then we don't exploit the natural resources around us, disregard how our actions are affecting our little area where we live, if we each live in right relationship with the earth, it would transform the way in which our world functions. There was a shaman in the book series, The Ringing Cedars, a Siberian shaman, who said that if we each cultivated our own garden, however small that might be, if you're in an urban environment or if you're someplace where you can grow your own garden in your backyard, if we each cultivated a garden, it would transform and heal the world. I truly believe that. And I truly believe that as we remember our interconnectedness with the animals and the plants around us, we will remember that the animals are trying to guide us in how to live more in harmony and balance. The plants are trying to heal us and help us remember who we are and how we are interconnected with all that is. There's so much more that we could talk about, and this is just a beginning, and I hope that this will be an ongoing theme across this year in different interviews, in different videos that I do, how we can together be supporting each other in these more practical ways of moving more fully into the Aquarian paradigms. Remember that the Aquarian age is also about shifting into higher consciousness, into a spiritual awakening and ascension. We are moving from third dimensional reality into fourth dimensional reality. And I do believe, as we're on this profound trajectory in 2024, we're meant to move more fully into fifth dimensional reality in 2025 and 2026. And what does that mean? Remember that third dimensional reality is that sense of materialism, of we're just in this physical plane. We experience it through our senses. What we know is what we see. And it fosters that sense of disconnection, of being an individual in this world and not really remembering that we are infinite beings, that we are a part of cosmic consciousness. So there's often this sense of separation and disconnection, which creates our getting caught more and more in the realm of duality and polarization, and this sense that time is linear, that we go from past to present to future. And it fosters the control by our egos of wanting some sense of security, some sense of control in what feels like a random universe. And it can lead us into these actions that are about power over or exploitation or treating the world around us or even each other as objects. As we move into fourth dimensional reality, we begin that spiritual awakening of remembering we're soul selves having a human experience. We begin to realize that everything is energy and that how we think, how we hold our intentions, that level of consciousness that we're living from affects everything around us. We begin to remember that we're co-creators of our own reality. So it helps us to begin to be more conscious of our thoughts, our level of awareness, our level of consciousness, and how that's impacting our experience of ourselves and everything around us. It helps us remember more our interconnectedness with each other and that we are a part of this morphogenic field. And as we clear and move into higher consciousness, we're supporting that shift at the collective level. And it helps us move out of that entrenchment in seeing everything in terms of polarity, good, bad, right, wrong. We begin to loosen that sense of judgment and are able to hold ourselves and others with more compassion. It also allows us to begin to realize that space and time are more fluid than we thought they were. But then as we move into fifth dimensional reality, we truly expand into being homo luminous ones. We realize our capacity to be co-creators with cosmic consciousness. We realize that everything is manifesting out of the plasma, the consciousness of the cosmos, and that we are part of that and we can co-create with that. It supports us in being at that higher level of spiritual consciousness that allows us to be living more fully from our soul selves and supports us in moving beyond duality into unity consciousness, truly living from our hearts and that energy of love and wisdom. And it supports us in moving into being beings of light, being energy beings, and remembering that we are actually also galactic beings, that we are a part of the energies and consciousness of the cosmos and the other beings that coexist with us in this galactic environment. And it supports us in also realizing that space and time are illusions, that the past, present, and future actually are happening simultaneously. And we can then free ourselves from these limiting beliefs and patterns of the past. As we're in this transition time, we're in fourth dimensional reality, moving back and forth at times into third dimensional reality, but we're bridging our way into fifth dimensional reality. Once you're in fifth dimensional reality, you can't go back into that third dimensional way of being. So we're in this transition time, and honor that. Hold with compassion that you may find yourselves at times really getting back entrenched in third dimensional reality. And you'll know you're entrenched in third dimensional reality when you get caught in fear, when you feel your energy level and your level of consciousness dropping into anxiety, overwhelm, despair, when you find yourself getting caught in reactivity or these out of balance patterns from the past. When that happens, hold it with compassion. Again, honor that we're in this intense time of transition and transmutation. So hold that with compassion. Do those practices with connecting with your heart chakra, with connecting with the earth, connecting to the energy of the sky and your spirit guides that help you come back to center, help you come back into alignment with your soul self. That will support you then moving back into that higher level of consciousness of the fourth dimensional reality, to know that you're being guided and supported in healing and clearing to move eventually more fully into fifth dimensional reality. It does mean in this fourth dimensional time of shifting that we are moving into an experience of ourselves, our bodies, our perceptions, our ways of seeing and thinking in a more expanded way. We are becoming more and more aware that we are energy beings. And it's helping us clear what needs to be cleared, heal what needs to be healed in order to fully move into that fifth dimensional way of being. So honor that we're in that transition. Know that it's a turbulent time, and it's not a straight line trajectory. It often can feel like you're in a roller coaster ride, and sometimes you're feeling like you're moving into that higher consciousness, and sometimes you dip into the lower world and the world of lower consciousness. That's okay. Hold that all with compassion. And again, know that we are held and supported by these energies that are guiding us, loving us, protecting us, and healing us to support us in moving into higher consciousness. And again, I'm so deeply grateful for this community and the ways in which I experience on a regular basis how we're supporting each other, affirming each other, caring about each other, mirroring back for each other what it means to be in this higher consciousness. So allow yourself to feel that support in this realm as you're also profoundly supported by your spirit guides and helpers, and know that we are together in this process of transmutation to move into new levels of consciousness and new ways of being as spiritual beings embodied in this creative, incredible reality on the earth, where we are able to experience the creativity of embodiment, the profound transformational energy of being in this emotional realm that supports us in growing in love and wisdom. Thank you for being a part of this community, and blessings and love to all of you.